Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's start our video with a story about a service desk worker who encountered an unpleasant customer. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Calling out-of-hours IT, demanding to send someone now and refusing to give details, tech reports caller to management. Thought you guys might like this one. I work in out-of-hours IT desk covering an awful lot of businesses outside of normal hours. Despite the fact these people are told not to hold events/meetings/conferences out of hours because there's no support on site usually, these people still do. Luckily for this caller, business, did have an emergency tech on site, but his refusal to provide information will be his downfall. Me. Service department caller, I'm calling from room F825 and the projector isn't working. Send someone now. Me, I'm sorry, which room? Monf F825. Sorry. Mike Echo 825, ME 825, Monf F825. I won't tell you again. Okay, what's your username? You don't need that. Contact number? You don't need that either. Sir, we're out of hours offsite support. We do have an emergency contact on site who's able to attend to your situation, but I do need to pass some details on to them. I'm in room F825. That's all you need to know. Click. As per process, I log a ticket, denote the caller refused to provide relevant information, and send it over to our emergency on-site contact. 20 minutes later, we get a reply. Unable to attend, no such room as ME825. Caller refused to give the agent contact details. Emergency call-out declined. User's manager informed about failure to cooperate. That's what it sounds like when someone with a thick accent tries to rapidly pronounce letters over the phone. And our second story. Did you mean BCC? At my previous position, I was officially lead customer support, but really I was acting department manager for customer and technical support because we were so small. The only time I went to my COO was for reimbursements over $500. I was in an essential position of trust and handled the accounts for over 2,000 clients. I only mention the above because I was not used to being micromanaged. You know the old saying, 20% of your clients create 80% of your work? And I had one client that just absolutely epitomized this. She would call or email me daily, sometimes hourly, not even time-sensitive issues, but everything was set to the highest priority, and we weren't allowed to change the priority. One day, one of the owners of the company decided he just didn't want to work sales. He wanted to get involved in the running of the back office as well. So he's looking over my tickets and keeps seeing these ultra-critical high-priority tickets from the client, and without asking me what's up with her, dresses me down in front of all the staff I work with about how lazy and unprofessional I am not to identify her issue and fix it once and for all. Moving forward, he screamed, I want to be CC'd on every contract with her so she can see we take her requests very seriously. Another note, the owner hates emails because he hasn't figured out how to turn off these notifications on his phone, and he'd rather do business in person or on the phone. I know this, so I'm about to ask if he means BCC, but he cuts me off and threatens time off without pay for insubordination. What is this, the military? Whatever, I shut up. And I CC him on all emails from and about the client, including ticket notes, exactly as he'd asked. By day 2, he had 100 emails. About 30 of those were from me either speaking to the client or updating ticket notes. The rest were from her when she realized she now had his email address. By day 3, they're all from her because she skipped me, the useless middleman, and is now directly emailing him. Day 4, I get an email from the owner to the client with me CC'd saying he could not assist with these issues as he was only familiar with the product and not the technical support for it. He said I was the best contact for these issues and sang my praises with a request to forward all figure requests to me. Thank you, owner. I'll take it from here. And our last story. I get my psycho evil boss fired and take his job. I was working as a lab tech in a small manufacturing lab with a girl about my age who I'll call Hannah, because that's her name. And the lab manager, a nutcase called Colin, because that was his name. Colin was a bully and would single me out for any reason he could, if he felt like I wasn't paying enough attention to my work, he would belittle me in front of all the bottle fillers. He would make me do all the dirty jobs and generally be an awful boss. He was also pretty sexist and decided that women should wear white safety shoes and were not suited for lab work. Finally, he was prone to violent outbursts. Anyway, I took all this on the chin because I needed the job, and it was actually nice to work with Hannah and others around the factory. A few times, however, he went too far. The first, he decided that he needed to use the funnel I was using to fill up barrels. I found it and took it to carry on with what I was doing in the noisy machine room, so I had headphones on. Out of the corner of my eye, I see him marching up. "Why did you take my funnel?" I don't hear him, so I take my headphones out. "Why did you take my funnel, you effing idiot? You always have effing headphones in." I asked him quite calmly not to swear. This causes him to quite literally explode with rage. He starts jumping about and getting in my face, eyes popping out of his head. "I'll effing swear if I want to, you effing R-word. You always have headphones in. Why did you take the funnel? I needed the effing funnel, you effing P-word." I walked away to get away from him, feeling a little shaken, but he followed me, yelling in the same vein, until I finally ran away from him and hid in the kitchen, breaking down in tears. I was later told that he could be heard all over the building, even from the noisy machine room. He later smoothed it all over with upper management, which would be a recurring theme. This was not long before my birthday, so I had a few days off after this. I come back with him saying that I was not in his good books for yelling at him, and that the bosses will be keeping an eye on me. I ended up writing a formal grievance against him, but did not end up helping, and he upped his mockery of me. I saw my first chance for revenge of sorts when he brought a bottle of chloroform into the so far windowless and unventilated lab. My chemistry senses started tingling, and I asked him if he'd done any COSHH forms for this. These are mandatory health and safety forms for chemical handling. He says no. I say he should. He says he's never written a COSHH form in his 25 years of being a chemist. I tell him he shouldn't open it in the lab as it'll be dangerous. I have a day off the next day and don't think much of it. I walk in the next day and the lab reeks of this weirdly sweet solvent smell. Everyone who is near the lab has a headache and there's an unmarked bottle of separated phases of a solution on the desk. My chemist sense is tingling even more. He opened the bottle and exposed everyone to a dangerous chemical and left unmarked solvent waste. I was prompted into action. I print off a COSHH form, fill it in, and show it to upper management. Since upper management aren't chemists, they don't really understand, but can see I'm concerned, so they go talk to Colin, who smooths it over and comes to me to chastise me for fear-mongering. I decide it's time to get a new job. After a few interviews, I managed to get a job at the university as a lab tech in their research labs for a little more money than I was currently getting. And most importantly, I'm finally free from Colin. About an hour after getting the confirmation email on my phone, the big boss comes down to ask me about a product that went out to our biggest client. They're complaining about the wrong flavor. I ask him about the batch code. I kept extensive batch code logs to the chagrin of Colin. He disliked it for some reason. And Big Boss tells me, I look it up and tell them there's a note on it for a sanctioned flavor change. Big Boss didn't sanction the flavor change. I tell him that Colin sanctioned it, and the notes of the change are in my lab book. Colin's away somewhere at this time, so Big Boss asks me to come upstairs to the boardroom. Big Boss informs me that the flavor that went to the customer was wrong, and they're withdrawing their business, and he needs me to be totally honest with him. I inform him that I've been given a job offer that morning and that I have nothing to gain from lying. I tell him that I was told by Colin to change the flavor and that I wrote the note in the lab book, which Colin signed off. He then got on the phone to Colin asking him to explain himself. I was not party to the conversation, but Big Boss brought the phone to me saying, Colin would like to speak with you. I answered the phone and Colin says, don't say anything till I get back. We'll sort this out together. LOL. Okay, Colin. Ladies and gentlemen, I sang like a canary. I told him about the bullying, the health and safety breaches, and the unsanctioned flavor change. The fact that I had a good feeling that he'd done none of the paperwork required of him as a lab manager, which the other upper management guy corroborated with the COSHH form I'd personally written. They then tell me that they would be dismissing Colin, but as a matter of policy and doing it right, they would be suspending us pending investigation. and to not answer any phone calls from Colin. Throughout the day, I had 23 missed calls from him, various frantic voicemails, and several text messages. He eventually came in 5 minutes shy of the end of the workday, telling me that I'm not going home until we have it sorted out and that I need to tell him what went on before he faces the big boss. The pleading tone and the look on his face when I stonily told him, "I'm going home, Colin. Goodbye," will last in my memory forever. So I look forward to a morning of video games on paid suspension. I get a phone call around 11 a.m. to come into work. When I arrive, I'm whisked into the boardroom and told what went down by Big Boss and upper management guy. It turns out he tried to blame me for sanctioning a flavor change. This didn't fly with Big Boss, who had enough of his crap by now. Colin then decides to blackmail Big Boss. As it turns out, Colin had sourced a dodgy supply of flavor and been putting it into the products, and that he would go to the press with what he'd done. This resulted in Colin being dismissed with immediate effect and then escorted off premises by police. Big Boss then offered me a promotion with a 10,000-pound pay raise, since he decided that I can do a much better job than Colin did, which I took. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.